Dadgum. My lights just fell over. Can y'all hear me? Let me get a mic check. 1 2 1 2, because I could not hear the music playback for whatever reason. And I want to see if y'all can hear me. So give me a thumbs up if we got decent audio. Hit me up. I'm open. Hopefully it's here. And my light fell over with 4 seconds to go. So whatever. All right, cool. Audio's good. Appreciate y'all. We got people jumping in. We got Aqua Splendor. Oh, Ms. Splendor. And we got Lynn. Of course, she was first. Dan Ray, Flatworms, yeah. Neil Phillips replied that I'm just gonna get it right. I'm just gonna get right to it because I'm rusty. I'm out of practice and I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, casein flatworm stop. I dose the whatever, the DIY version of that. Some sort of freaking bark that I can't remember right now. Wormwood tea. I dose that every day. I don't know if it's working. I'm going to get a RAS. That's what I'm going to do. Because I know in the other tank and its connected system, same water, blah, 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 that tank is clean. And there's a 6 line in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a RAS in the frag tank. And I think that's going to work. So we'll see. So yes to KZ Flatworm Stop or Wormwood Tea. And if you can pull off a RAS, totally do it. I think that'll help. Philip, thank you for the welcome. Braveheart, Evan Carr, Lynn. Oh, I missed a whole bunch of stuff. Savage is in here. Redo. I like that video. Did you post another one? I'm going to go check that out. Heard the music. Oh, I wonder why. Hey, Mom. Oh, hey, I'm streaming. I couldn't hear the music, and that was pretty weird. Algae Warrior, Slee Slack. What? Mario, Acan. Bill Ray. What up? Troy, how are you? Bill Ray, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about that black box video. Hey, Dad. Thank you. Dylan. Finally got the 2 AliExpress lights. That's freaking awesome. Let's talk first. This is a legit boxes and booze. Booze. My travel booze of choice is Budweiser. And later I shall shift to the tried and true Sam Adams Cherry Wheat in the Coral Frenzy koozie, because beer should be treated as well as fish and LPS. And Coral Frenzy treats them both perfectly. Or all 3, I suppose. Okay. I don't know. Do I have a tan or is it just my fantastic lighting? I don't know. I did trim my beard today because it was getting a little scruffy. I got to start work. I was outside a little bit. We had a good trip. Totally unproven RV, except for a couple local trips. Like 5,200 miles, 5,100 miles. It's probably 5,300 miles. The thing that I had to repair before we left broke in Wyoming or Utah. I'm not sure which. So I had to fix it again. Luckily, the bolts failed, not the bracket itself. I may have a picture. I think I have a picture. I can show some pictures. Let's talk pictures. And it was just a whole lot of driving. Just 2 weeks. It would have been awesome if it was 3 weeks. I could have spread it out, but got to start work. Ronaldo, how are you? Looking fresh. I don't know. Drinking bourbon. Cat. Yeah. All right, Troy, you win. And I can appreciate that. Yeah, I got a new job. starting Monday. Sadly, not teaching. But I'm super appreciative of what the opportunity is, and it's very similar to what I did before with a smaller private company. Really looking forward to that. I think that affords me the opportunity to be maybe a little more of who I am without the concern of the creepy corporate politics. I'll just leave it at that. Okay. Yeah, Lynn, same thing I was doing before, just with a different firm. So dig it. I am going to... Let's talk about Mighty Nanotank's fish that's no longer in that tank that's sitting right over there that y'all can't see, but you can see that slight blue hue, potentially. Here's what's up. Mighty Nanotank passed that fish on to... I think it went to Daniel first, Tank Addict. And then it went to Moki, or it went to whatever. One of those guys first. And I'm not sure who had it first. And then it came to me. And I was just going to hold it in a quarantine tank until... Please hold. Go Speed Racers outside. I was going to hold it in a quarantine tank until it was time to ship it back. Maybe wait until cooler weather, that kind of thing. But I was like, I'm going to go to Utah because we have friends south of where Ben Mighty Nanotank lives. We were going to head that way. So I was like, hell, I'm going to take this thing with. What that involved, and you can kind of see it a little bit here, but that involved 2 batteries. My modified Ecotech battery with the lithium iron phosphate cells and a big fat 100 amp hour lead acid battery. The lead acid drove the heater and the heater controller, and the lithium iron phosphate battery drove the Ecotech. Oh, you can't see, my bad. Ecotech driver right here. So 2 batteries. Both of them being charged when we were on AC or when the generator was running. Both of them running just on battery while we were rolling on down the road. Shout out to... Look, this Ecotech MP10 that I stole right out of my tank, I just took one from my tank. I have 2. I took one, and I stuck it in here, and it ran out of batteries for over a week. On and off charging. Worked perfectly. That's totally a cool solution if you need to go mobile. You need to move the water around. Home Depot for this bucket, this jug with a lid. What I did is I filled it up with salt water and I got to driving down the road and then it splashed out. And then it didn't splash out anymore. And that was the level. I did buy salt water, didn't need it. And I did bring a roadie with and didn't need it. Also shout out to Finex for the heater that was in there. And for Inkbird for the heater controller. I will only buy Finex, and I will only buy Inkbird. Now, I may drive a heater off of off the GHL, but I'm not going to do it without a Inkbird just to save my butt. All of that worked really, really well. The temperature, I set the temperature of that thing like 76, and it would occasionally float up to 79. So there was a 3-degree swing, which is why I didn't bring corals, just the fish. I knew the fish could take it. But down the road we went, no problems, worked like a champ. I was super psyched that we were able to drive that thing. I mean, I went to Minnesota. Here's Minnesota. So we have a cabin on a lake there. But we didn't open a cabin this year because of COVID, so we totally went to... There's a RV park down the lake from where we are. Pulled up, hooked up, and that's how we rolled. And that was pretty sweet. So, I mean, the fish is in the bathroom right there. If we needed to use a shower, and we did, I'd move the fish from the shower to the toilet. We would use a shower, then I'd put the fish back in the shower, and that's where the fish stayed. From Minnesota, we rolled down to, you may recognize that big rock from Close Encounters, to Devil's Tower in Wyoming. We were going to go to Mount Rushmore, but one of the Indian reservations, one of the roads I chose, drove right through a reservation. The reservation was closed because of COVID. They wouldn't let visitors through. So we turned around and we blew off Rushmore and we ended up at Devil's Tower. That was... my grandson's pick, and that was a legit pick. Jaden, well done, because that was awesome. We really liked that place. In fact, we were just going to stop over there, and I was like, screw this, I'm going to get another night so we could hike. So we walked from the RV park, the KOA that's right outside the gate. We walked up to Devil's Tower. We walked around Devil's Tower. The boys both climbed up the boulders that are downhill from the tower all the way up to the permit line. Above that line, you need a permit to climb, but that involved some legit climbing efforts on their part, and they totally did it, and off they went. And no, I'm not showing the humping cows, Dad. Thank you. But if you watch Close Encounters a third time, as my dad is providing this information here, there are cows getting it. Devil's Tower is sweet. If you have the opportunity to go. It's beautiful. Then we showed up in Salt Lake City. I told Ben, I was like, man, we're going to be there like 5. And I was like, wait, 6, wait, 7. Is 8 o'clock okay? And then we rolled it. I don't know what time we got there. It was dark. It was probably 8:30. Hooked up with Ben, who I hadn't seen since he moved. His family was there. Everybody was super cool, and was able to deliver the fish, and that worked out really well. Was just really happy to be able to give Ben back his fish. And now my tank is empty, and the nem that's in there is all like, what's up? Where's my fish? So maybe I need to get another clownfish for this tank, or I don't know what I'll do. I don't know that I need this tank, but like it's sort of balanced out and it's working. There's a chalice in there, and it's living and it's happy. There's a leather in there that seems kind of okay. I don't know. Maybe I keep that tank running. But super cool to see Ben again, drop off the fish. And what's going on? Wait. How come I'm not? What's up? Oh, there's the fish. And then, so this is the clown that I held since, like, I don't know when, February, January. I have no idea until I dropped it off a couple weeks ago. And that was pretty awesome. Let me check up real quick. No politics. Agreed, Lynn. Sovereign Reef, what up? Work pointed out I said RV tank several times, and you mocked me. But looky here. Redo, can we call this a tank? I'm not sure we can call this a tank. Because you said RV tank, then we'll call it a tank. But it was absolutely more of a container. It was personalized shipping. We can say that, right? It worked out pretty well. Blue River. I'm rolling travel beers. I just took it, but I didn't drink it, so now I'm having today. So, you were less than 4 hours from beers. Yeah. There were a couple of places now that I wish I had been able to visit, but I didn't. And we kind of ran out of time, and then we had to hightail it back. So, there's always the next trip. Who knows when I'll get the time to take 2 weeks again to drive around the RV. It was an awesome experience, but, we'll see. Oh, yeah. See, 8 hours that'd be a bit of a haul, right? So, because I personalized my delivery services for Mighty Nano Tank, I got a beer. So that's cool. Now we're even. It all worked out pretty well. Plus, I'm gonna take a frag of his torch, his gold torch. But anyway, yeah, that's gonna happen. That was a good beer too, by the way. That was a midnight snack. Got done. Got parked. Where'd we go? We went to... we left Ben's house, went to the airport, picked up my daughter. So then we had a whole bunch of people in the RV, and it was cool that my daughter was able to travel with us for the rest of the trip. Because I already had her son in the RV with. Captive. And then where'd I go? I probably rolled up to a Cracker Barrel. Because you can stay at Cracker Barrels in the back parking lot. You can roll up in there if you're self-contained. Run the generator, run the AC, whatever. As long as you got water and room in your tanks. Pull into a Cracker Barrel, level out, call it good, go to sleep. So that's what I did. That beer, Cracker Barrel. I appreciate that. Off to Utah. You know what? I don't know that I have any Utah pictures, but I don't think so. Nope. We have friends that are in southern Utah, close to Zion. Friends Bruce and Laura, and they're freaking awesome. They're amazing people. Bruce was a big motorsports guy back in the day. Did some motorcycle and car racing, so he, of course, has this huge garage full of fun toys. And the boys and my daughter went blasting out into the desert, having a grand old time on anything off-road. And they had a great trip. And I really wish we could have stayed another day or two in southern Utah, because really that place is beautiful, but we had to get on the road. So, but it had been a few years since we'd been at a friend's house, so it was fantastic to be able to see them and hang out finally, because it had been too long. So we ate and we hung out and we had a really good time. Yeah, Blue River didn't make it down to Zion, but we were up in New Harmony, and whatever. It's the kid jumped on either one of the quads or any of the things with wheels, and off he went. Actually, all of them. So, like Blue River says, go to Zion, get off road, go where other people aren't. Be careful, take your time, enjoy it. It's beautiful. Actually, it's surprisingly crowded, right? Maybe not so surprisingly crowded, but there are a lot of RVs on the road. And there's a lot of people out there goofing off. But anyway, had to fix this stupid thing again. This is the bracket that I replaced. And I don't like this alignment, but this is the original installation. I'm gonna talk to the manufacturer about this to figure out what's the right way to do this. But this bolt, and this bolt sheared. So we went to the hardware store and we got us some nice hard bolts, and it's still there. Didn't break on the way back, so I'm pretty happy about that. Then we went to Horseshoe Bend, because if you walk in Moki's house, he's been here, and he's got a picture of this hanging up in his house, and I was like, man, that's kind of cool. And everybody's got this iconic Horseshoe Bend picture, and they do it with sunsets and sunrises and blah 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 blah. It was a beautiful day when we stopped there. No wind, no nothing. We had some clouds in the sky. You could see those reflected in the water, and nobody fell. Because people fall there because they're stupid. Go watch don't watch people falling. I'm not sure there's videos of that. But you can see people almost dying hanging off the stupid rocks. Go and sit there and chill and enjoy the view, because it's actually quite beautiful. This is my first time there. Loved it. And there's some reefers out there that kind of like know this river well and are close to this space. So it's pretty sweet. So this is a phone shot. I took this with my iPhone 7 Plus. This is a panoramic, and it worked out pretty well. I'm really, whatever. The best camera to have is the camera you have with you. You know what I'm saying? Stand-up jet ski down there. Yeah. The river's beautiful. That'd be pretty sweet. It would be really sweet, actually. Then, after Horseshoe Bend, we went to Meteor Crater, and we went to the Petrified Forest, because I'm like, wow, let's just go, because we're gonna drive I was gonna go to Colorado, but the wildfires and 70 was closed, and I didn't want to deal with any of that crap, so I'm like, screw it. So took the southern route, dropped down to, like I said, Meteor Crater, and then Petrified Forest. And after that, it was mostly done. Now, Missouri looks pretty nice. Like, I would have liked to stop in a couple places in Missouri. But other than that, there's not much except for Bahama Llama and Inland Reef, Tyler and Remy. I hit them up because I had wanted to be able to stop, but we weren't going to have times. That hurricane was hooking up, and we wanted to get in front of those storms. So I was getting it. I was driving. These were a couple long days, and I just wanted to get back before any of that weather. And what's up, Lewis? And so Remy's all, but you got to stop. And I'm like, my daughter wants some Jack in the Box. How about I meet you in Troy, Illinois, which is like right outside of St. Louis. He's like, done. So he packed up corals. And this is the first time I met him, right? I've talked to him online. He's been on the channel. Super cool dude. Same with Tyler, Inland Reef. He's usually in here or hanging out or hitting me up all the time on Instagram, and I really like talking with him. Both these guys were awesome. It was super cool that they were able to come out and hang out right after we gassed it. Well, you know what? I rolled in with it's a 50-gallon tank on that RV, and I was getting like 7 to 9.5 miles per gallon, something like that. I rolled in on fumes because when I filled up, it took more than 50 gallons. I was like, not sure I'm going to make it. But we made it. We got to meet Remy, got to meet Tyler, got our Jack in the Box. My daughter was happy. Jumped back in the RV, and off we went. And then these guys, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, these guys were talking about this video, and that was freaking awesome. So I just threw the live stream on my head as I was driving, and I listened to this and took some mental notes. And I thought they did a pretty good job, right? I mean, this is absolutely not their, right? They've done this before. I don't know that Ryan has used lights like this. Maybe he has. Randy has used these lights. But this is not what they do, right? This is not their thing. But a whole lot of people have asked about it, and it was cool of them to address it. And after that, that's one of Remy's weeping willows. So I've got one of those for me, super cool, thank you, Remy. One of those for Moki, and a couple other goodies in there for Moki and an acro for me to see if I could do something with it. But that was a pretty cool trip. I think that's all I got. There were other pictures on Instagram, stuff from Minnesota, stuff from Meteor Crater. We took the little guided tour thing, which was pretty sweet. Man, that was a good trip. And it's like 2 weeks. It was over 2 weeks. And it was just a little over 2 weeks. And it's just like gone. I'm like, man, all that fun. It just goes by so quickly. Lewis. Yeah, I'm not. So, tank update. So I had my daughter and my neighbors were keeping an eye on the tank while I was away, which means, I mean, everything pretty much just runs all by itself. It's pretty much autonomous. You just got to feed the fish. And really, I would put everything on a fish feeder if I could, but the stupid copper band won't eat pellets. It only eats blackworms or mysis. So, thanks, Savage. I appreciate that. So they had to come over, and it looks like they fed really well because they went through the majority of a Coral Frenzy container of food. And by the looks of the tank, it appears as if, and I haven't tested, and I should have tested today, but I didn't. It appears as if my phosphate is about 5 times what it should be, but we'll find out. I'll do some testing maybe tomorrow morning, and we'll see how that looks. But regarding your question, Lewis, I'm not having good luck. I had really good luck with Chaeto, and then something happened, and now I don't have good luck with Chaeto. But there's a whole lot of hair algae everywhere in the tank, so I have a little bit of work to do, but whatever. Everything made it. I had a highlighter stag, which is super sensitive to phosphate fluctuations. It was a ghost town when I showed up. There was a little bit of life left on one of the little legs, so I cut that off and took everything else out, and I'm a little disappointed about that because that was growing. It was a pretty big piece, but that thing has always been super sensitive. Other than that, I had 56 quarts of calc, pre-mixed up calc, sitting in a big old container that I got from Home Depot. Got through most of that. I got through 5, 10, 15 gallons of ATO over the 2 weeks. So there was a little bit of water and a whole lot of help, and everybody, my daughter and my neighbors they're always awesome, and I appreciate it. So yeah, as soon as my daughter flew out, my neighbors took over. They know what's up, got notes on the tanks, notes what to do, and everything. Other than that highlighter stag, everything looks pretty good. So I was pretty happy. Well, we can just get to it, right? Let's talk black boxes. That's a bag of lenses. Oh, let me change pictures. I'm going to have to pull this up. Let me see what I can do over here. Please talk amongst yourselves. Oh, there we go. After watching that video, after watching the bulk reef supply video. While on the road, I ordered a VipraSpectra because people have talked about it a whole lot. First of all, the guys were doing a good job, but the name things were funny, so I have several names for VipraSpectra. I'd like to run through them. And I've added a couple of my own. So VipraSpectra, Viper Spiral, Spinal Tap, Spiral Gyro, Dodge Viper, Protected by Viper, Spiral Galaxy, and back to Spirals. Viper Spiral. You know, I'm gonna call this a Dodge Viper. That's what I'm gonna call this. I think that's good. I made the jump and ordered XR30 Blue for the hundo. You know what? Lynn Reef Nerd, who may or may not still be in here, let me test her XR30 Blue. That's a good light. I have no complaints. I think it is absolutely evolutionary compared to a Gen 4. It certainly isn't revolutionary. I mean, it's just another light. And it works. It's a good spectrum too. I do have data in here from a Gen 5 XR15 from Moki's when I tested that. But one of the things they were talking about, there's a couple. I have some notes here, and I'm going to run through some of these. BRS with the lenses installed on the tank decided to roll 24 inches high above the tank. That's excessive. We all know that's excessive. That's not something any of us are going to want to do. So you got to look at the light and you got to go, what's the best, sorry, I'm bumping the mic. What's the best way to address those focused lenses? Now, these lenses are the same lenses you see in a Ocean Revive, in the 470 nanometer bar, the AliExpress bar. Same lenses that are in basically the same thing that are in the Orphix or 2s or 3s. I mean, this is, and Ryan said it, this is a commodity lens. This is a lens you can buy all over the place. Whatever. You see these everywhere. What you don't see is these lenses in like a Reef Bright, but you see the same LEDs, the same commodity LEDs that you find in the AliExpress, the Ocean Revive, certainly the VipraSpectra. It's all the same LEDs. So except for the OR3s from Orphic, those are 5 watts. Everybody else is using 3 watts. They don't put out a lot of heat. Actually, Ryan mentioned that a couple times, talking about the heat dissipation and the size of the heat sinks. That's because these are 3-watt LEDs, and they're driving them really spaced out, and you don't need a big heat sink. The fact that it didn't heat up is totally cool because they are making contact with the heat sink. It's a big chunk of metal, especially in the VipraSpectra. It's got some thickness to it, and they're soldered. So 2 connections, plus and minus, and then the whole base of a 3-watt LED is soldered onto the heat sink. So it's metal-to-metal contact. It's totally transferring heat. The fact that there wasn't heat is a non-issue. That's actually a good thing. The LEDs were not holding heat. So what I did was what a whole lot of people do, is they took out the lens. I took out the lens because you don't need the lenses. If you, oh, I don't have a picture. If you take the lenses off of VipraSpectra and then you do a little, get it out of the box without spilling my beer. We're going to talk wattage too. I think that's an important point because that was mentioned related to the heat of the LED. VipraSpectra, right? You saw this on BRS. You got a single plug, 2 fans. There is a finned heatsink in there to grab the air. That's attached to a surprisingly thicker metal plate than maybe what was mentioned in the video. It's not the same as what's in a Mars Aqua because I've taken that apart too. Because I had one of those that's lasted like 7 years. I took it and I turned it into a Philips Coral Care 2, blah, 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 whatever. I put the fused acrylic on there, and I just need to figure out how to attach it on there. I don't like these little sticky, double-sided sticky tape triangles, but whatever. This works really well, and I can show you. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to plug it in too, because I need to understand the wattage in the cottage. So let's get a wattage reading first, because one of the things that was mentioned in the video was that 165 watt, which is just absolutely not pulling, because I know the size of the oh, and another thing that was mentioned was how this thing dims. It totally is PWM. It's got numbers on the power supplies, so you can just look those up and you could tell that they're PWM. Whoo, what up? So this is, as Ryan says, oh, by the way, the controls on this are the same as an Ocean Revive. So if you have, oh, sorry for the fan noise. If you've ever used an Ocean Revive, it's the same, whatever. It's the same control panel. So you just work through. Ryan mentioned blues at 100%, and then he mentioned 30% on the whites. Let me get a wattage reading real quick. You remember he mentioned 165 watt, not producing, oddly not producing heat to the heatsink. That's because this light is only drawing, at the settings that they suggested, 75 watts. This is a 75 watt light when used at the spectrum that you'll use it. Okay? That's an important point. It's not 165 watts. It uses twin 56 watt pulse width modulation drivers. So 56 plus 56 doesn't equal, I think it's 165, right? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Yep, 165. Nope. Twin 56s inside. So lenses off, diffused with acrylic. It actually looks kind of nice. I want to add little bolt doohickey holders to make it look nice, so I can extend the acrylic a little bit off the body with these little standoffs and make it kind of nice. This works really well. Now, if you were watching the spectrum settings, or the spectrum values that Randy read, this light performs really well. Let me get back here. Let me do this and this. Oops. Oopsie. There. I'm going to show you this. These are readings that oh, that's all screwed up, isn't it? Let me do this. Let me do a little bit of this. I wonder why that's all screwed up. What the heck? No. This. Here we go. Please hold while I fix my ish. Okay, there we go. Couple things to note. Wait, let me catch up. All right, so we talked about the XR30 Blue River Reefs. Yes, good light. Blue or Pro. Fresh, I'm rolling. Whatever. I like a blue tank. I like the blue because the blue is AB+. It's tuned AB+. It's not really AB+, but it's like AB+ in a Gen 4 Pro versus the XR30 Gen 5 Blue. Their spectrums are not the same, but whatever. It's close enough. If you have a Pro and you prefer AB+, then you're turning down, and Ryan talked about this a little bit in the video, about the black box video, that you're turning down diodes and you're not using the available power. True, because really, who runs all channels at 100%? Like nobody. Maybe they do. Maybe somebody does. But I always test the lights like I use them. So I dial in the lights, and I dial in the lights using the spectrometer, right? The same one that they're using. And then I take my power readings. In this case, it was what I say, 75 watts. And that's when I take the spectrum and PAR readings. So I do all of that at the spectrum that you would use the light. I have no idea why we're going to test PAR with all channels 100%. because that provides me like no value, especially when I'm comparing lights to lights. I think it's important to test all lights the same way, always the same way. That way, at least you have as close as possible to apples. There's always going to be some variability in there, but whatever. That's how I roll. Thank you. About Aqua Splendor. Thank you. And I'm probably... Oh, you know what? We're in the same time zone, aren't we? 2 Mars Aqua, and I guess BRS said they are crap. What do you think? Bill Ray. My Mars Aqua has run for years and years and years and years. And they suggested that the blue peak wasn't what it should be, and I agree. As compared to the VipraSpectra, or the Spiral Gyro, or the Dodge Viper, it's an inferior light. However, it'll grow corals. I've had one. A lot of people have them, and a lot of people grow corals with them. So, yeah, it's whatever. If you have the opportunity to pick between a light, actually, I think a Mars Aqua has more wattage too. That's something I'm guessing. I can't remember. I thought it was a 300 watt, but again, not 300 watt, but whatever. You're fine as long as your par readings using the Mars Aqua. As long as that's good, you're good. I wouldn't worry about it. What's up, Tyler? Was talking about you. Maybe I missed it. Love the diffuser. So I think the diffuser on the VipraSpectra, on the Dodge Viper, on the Spiral Gyro, on the Spinal Tap. I think the diffuser makes it all work. I think a lot of people are taking those lenses off. If they have this light, they take the lenses off and they drop the light down, because now you have no more disco ball. Now you have no more focused beam that Ryan was talking about. Oh, by the way, none of these lights have UV. None of them have UV. All of the ones that they showed were all violet and above. Nobody dropped below 400 nanometers. Like you see the graph right there, right? See that peak right there? That is not in the UV range. So none of those lights had UV. I'll just get that out of the way. You know how I am about that. I have a problem. It's my problem. It's nobody else's. Lens off, diffuser. So this light effectively becomes really, really close, and I have the data to show it, really close to an XR15 Pro Gen 5. And this thing's like $120. And then the acrylic, I cut that for, I don't know, whatever that was, $5 probably. It was a $5 piece of frosted acrylic. And I had to take screws out. That's all there was to that. So, this Aqua Splendor, you see the graph there, and you can figure out which one it was. So it looks like the alley bar should be... Yeah, so the alley bar would supplement the VipraSpectra, the Dodge Viper, the Spiral Gyro. I had other names. Spiral Galaxy. It would supplement that light well, because it was actually going to fatten up. It's going to fatten up this 470 range a little bit. You see right there that its peak is 450. And that's good. And like Ryan was talking about shift, that's an interesting thing. Spectral shift of LEDs when you are adjusting either voltage or current, because actually it's both. It's not just voltage, it's voltage or current. That's a really interesting thing, and I would like to see that done on a Kessel A360W, because they are 0 to 10 lights. So you would actually be shifting voltage or current in a Kessel A360, which has always been like Ryan's light of choice, right? I think he's going with X's with this tank. Those lights are a little bit different. It would be totally interesting to show spectral shift on a Kessel A360W. Show that data, please. All right, let me look some more. What's up, Sanchez? Redo. I think we've talked about this, but do you think it's important to have true UV in a reef tank? I think It can be important. There are lights like Kessel has true UV. GHL has UV. Hell, I think the Pixie 30 has UV. I think it can change like it does my skin tone. I think it can change the color of your corals. That's just whatever. That's my anecdotal view. It may or may not be accurate, but you know. Sorry, I'm reading Falcon's post about 30 blue for 10 hours. Mixed reef, have not lost anything. Knock on wood. So yeah, there you go. Is that with a Spinal Tap or is that with a Mars Aqua? So after testing the G5 blue, what height do you recommend to mount them off the water? So I'm gonna spread. And I've talked to Richard, aficionado. I've talked to Richard about spread. Spread is an interesting thing for me because all tank sizes are different, and the coral, like the corals that you want to illuminate, may or may not be different. The clarity of your water plays a part of this. Not really with spread, but whatever. I think all installations are different. So what I would do is not put a whole lot of emphasis on spread because I don't. I don't know that you need to, but I think you have to test par in your tank. And as long as you're getting, your 250 to 350-ish for SPS at the top, if that's what your target is, if that's what your goal is, and 100 at the sand bed, set that height and intensity of the light to achieve that target, and you're good. If you're trying to illuminate a tank that's big and you need to do it with multiple lights, absolutely use the Bulk Reef Supply's suggestion for, that 24-inch spacing, how they space the lights, the orientation of the lights. It all depends on what you're trying to achieve. Most manufacturers are going to suggest you need this light, and that light is going to be underpowered, and it's not going to be enough. And I've talked about it before, overpower. You need more light than you think you need because you can always turn it down, but you can't turn it up. Right? Once you get to 100%, that's it. That's all you got. It's how I see winter. You can always layer to be comfortable. But eventually when you're standing outside in your underwear, because it's so damn hot in the summer, what are you going to do? Nothing. You're going to get in trouble. And you're going to hose yourself down, and that's going to be even weirder. But whatever. It's like winter. You can always take off layers just like you can always turn down a light because you have sufficient lighting. So all tanks are different. G5 blue, so I tested the G5 blue like I do all the other lights because what I want is the spectrum. I want to see the legit spectrum, and then I want to compare that spectrum at the same height, open air, across lights, and then that gives me also a par reading at that 24-inch open air. Nothing getting in the way of the par, and it gives me relative par. And you're going to be able to see that in these numbers here. Does that make... Yeah, okay. Hold on. G5. Yeah. Does AliExpress have exclusive rights to those light bars? I don't know. AliExpress is the distributor from the manufacturer, right? They're the marketplace. I don't know who owns the rights. I'm sure you could buy a pallet of them for like $5 each if you wanted to from Alibaba. They'd be more than happy to help you. Can't crank it to 11. So, yeah, lighting, spread, height above the tank. It's all, for me, I do that with par. And so does Randy, right? I mean, he's using a par meter to figure out that spread, the distribution of light across that 24 by 24 inch cube that he uses as his goal. Do it over the light. Get a par meter. Rent it. Whatever. Borrow one. Do something. And, yeah. Jay Sanchez, those things are everywhere. It's not just, I just get them from AliExpress because it's easy. But sure, if somebody's buying a pallet of them from Alibaba, they're totally selling them on eBay, or it's just being distributed out of China direct from eBay. Did you find a U.S. source? Because I know there's like one U.S. distributor for AliExpress in the U.S. But yeah, they're everywhere. Same thing. That's just where I get them. Okay, back to lights. So this is the VipraSpectra Dodge Viper Spinal Tap. This is that light diffused, no lenses, at 24 inches above a flat surface with the spectrometer, same thing that BRS uses, underneath the light. So this gives you the spectrum, and it's identical to what Ryan or Randy showed you in the video over the weekend. And it also gives you the PAR. So this PAR at 24 inches above a flat surface is reading 151. This is the Aqua Night. Oh, it also has UV. Wait. No, it doesn't. That's 400. So I remember, I'm talking relative PAR numbers. Randy mentioned this. No, Ryan mentioned this, that PAR doesn't. He mentioned that PAR doesn't matter, but we all know it does. And then he circled back on it a little bit, and PAR does matter. And he talked about it. He talked about it on both sides. PAR is not the only thing we care about. I totally agree, because 150 PAR, which is a good number for a $100 light, $120 light, you can get a totally horrible spectrum with what they call space needly peaks, right? And then and that's not effective, right? That's not going to give the corals what the corals need. This is the Aqua Night. It's a little peaky right here, 456 versus 450. But it does have this almost UV. It has this violet peak that may or may not matter. But note the PAR value. All of these were taken the same way. So this is low, and this is a low wattage light. And this is a 75 watt. This is probably, and I don't know that I have it in my notes. This is maybe a 20, 15, 16 watt light, something like that. So you see it in wattage. What I pay attention to is true wattage at the usable spectrum, like that, and like ease of replacement and stuff, right? I mean, this is an easy light to fix. The VipraSpectra is an easy light to fix. Oh, there was another thing, and maybe I'll do it. So Ryan talked about having 120 volts over the top of the tank. Totally agree. That is a potential suck factor, but it's super easy to pull the drivers out of the light and then run new wire from the driver sitting inside the shoebox or something stupid. Maybe you can put a little fan in there, whatever. You can put them on the wall and then just run DC up to the light. So you can pull those drivers out of a VipraSpectra, Mars Aqua, an Ocean Revive. You can do that and get the AC out of the top of your tank. I totally agree. What's up, Carlos? It's been a while. So, Aqua Night, right? This is the Bosley. Oh, is it going to load or is it going to be? There it is. This is the Bosley that Remy, Bahama Llama, showed. A buddy of his had one of these things, or 3 of them or something, over top of a tank, and it was keeping the tank super happy. But note the relative PAR number. So this is an $80 light, and it's absolutely not the wattage that's indicated on the Amazon webpage. But this is a pretty big. That light is like 2 of these, and it's putting out, I don't know. That light kind of sucks. The Bosley, it kind of sucks, but it totally works if this is the light that you have and the light you want to use. But note the spectrum difference, right? It's a little kind of, there's not much going on here. It's just sort of like almost 460. And it's just a peak and some white. So it's a single blue that they're using and some and full spectrum to round it out. This is a Pixie 30. This I I need to look into data, and I may retract my BS statement saying this has true VV. I need to go look at what that peak is. But you can see it's got some violet pretty far down there. Also, single blue, right? There's not much going on here, rounded out with a bunch of white. Also, a very low wattage, but you see its par is similar to that, which is the Aquanite. So the Aquanite and the Pixie 30, I kind of put them in the same boat. Cheap. These are cheap lights, but they work. People are growing. There's people out there growing all sorts of stuff with these lights. This is a Reef Bright. So 30-watt light. Peak is 450. It's a blend of 450 and 470. And this is all you get. That's what you're getting with the Reef Bright. Here's the par. I included this light just so you understand the par. Same height, same measurement technique, everything. So less than a Pixie 30, less than, 63. Yep, less than an Aquanite. But again, it's a bar light, right? And it's spread out, and it doesn't have any lenses on it, and it's using the same cheap 3-watt LEDs that a lot of these other companies are using, except for Orphic with the R3. Oh, never mind. I don't want to poke that bear. But if you want to know what's inside of a Reef Bright 24-inch, I have a video. Go watch it. It's interesting. This is my old AI Prime non-HD. So this is just before the 16. So this is an AI Prime non-HD. It has, and I'm really impressed by AI actually. So if you can find them used and find them cheap and find them whatever, Aqualumination, right, sister company to Ecotech, they're using decent LEDs in their lights, and I'm impressed by them. So that spectrum is fantastic. Note the similarity to the PAR, the PFD of the Reef Bright. But see how fat that thing is? That's a nice fat spectrum that's easy to replicate with an AI Prime. Non-HD. You get to HD, you can bump up those blues even more. You get a 16, now you got even, you have an even better light. So I recommend this light. This is cool. And they talk about, right? Ryan talks about this in the video. It's a good light. But if you don't have the money for this light, go get a VipraSpectra. Take the lenses off, hit me up for a diffused piece of acrylic, and it's all easy enough to do, right? And then you're like $130 instead of 200 and something. So this one's interesting. Here's a legit UV coming out of a Kessel A150. So older light. Kessel A150, note the par. Note how low the Kessel par truly is, because you see that across their product line. It's actually surprisingly low. Again, the focus is on their spectrum. In this particular case, this spectrum's kind of meh. All right, it's missing some things that you would expect to see, but it is an older light. By comparison, here is a 360W, which is a 0 to 10 light. It has a better spectrum, like you would expect to see. It's a little fatter. It has a couple of peaks in the right places. What's up, Juan? And still, but look at the par. So 93 par from a Kessel A360W, 24 inches above a flat surface, spectrometer underneath capturing this data. So all of this is done the same way. Like I mentioned, note this par, right? Par is not the most important thing. Spectrum is the most important thing. Par is second. So if you're going to spend a lot of money on a 360W, I don't know what an X is because I haven't caught up with, what's up, Mogi? I haven't caught up with Juan to see what's up with his 360X. But that thing's running as hot as it can run, and that's the kind of light you're getting out of it. Remember, this is the VipraSpectra, 151 par, same measurement technique, $120 light with the lenses removed. You can do diffused or not, but I did. And then C93. I mean, it's a surprisingly less par for that expensive of a light. Nice spectrum, but so does the VipraSpectra. Again, true UV, though. Something to note. I did not include any big lights. So I did not include data from the Gen 4 XR30s, the Gen 5 Blue, or the Mitras LX7s over my frag tank, which I freaking love. This is just less expensive lighting and comparable-ish par. I think something was mentioned between there being like a 35% difference between an AI Prime, and I think they're talking about the 16, which is a different light than this, of course. But there's a significant difference between the AI Prime non-HD and that, right? So way more than double. The VipraSpectra has it. This light is the Red Sea LED 90. And it's whatever. If this is the only light you have, use it. Love the one you're with. You know what I'm saying? But if you have the opportunity to get a different light, do it, because this thing is super needly. It does have true UV, but it doesn't, whatever. I think this was 100. This was both channels running at 100%. So the blue peak is significant at 452. But this is a 90 watt light that was pulling 100 watts on my kilowatt. And the power supply was freaking hot. Hotter than anything I've experienced. So, the Red Sea is... There's going to be some data here that's going to be really interesting for you. I'm getting to it. So, that's the Red Sea. This is Moki's XR15 Pro Gen 5. XR15 Pro Gen 5. Note the par. 100. Good spectrum. A spectrum you'd expect to see. Actually, this is the light I want to compare. What if I can I do this? Can I open up? I'm just going to get rid of all of these others. I'm just going to delete these. And then I'm going to... wonder if that'll work. Yep, that worked. So now, here's a direct comparison, and I'll go back and forth a couple times. This is the comparison between a VipraSpectra for $120 and a XR15 Gen 5 Pro. Comparable. You're missing some 420 in the VipraSpectra, but you can add that if you want. But dig the par readings. So comparable spectrum. Both will grow corals perfectly fine. Corals will be very happy under both of these lights. You're going to get a little more par out of the VipraSpectra. So if you're a budget reefer, have no shame. Buy yourself a VipraSpectra. Except that it might break. Except that it's super easy to repair. And it's whatever. Roll with it. Ryan's response to this light breaking, you plug it in 6 months later. Fudge. That was funny, and it is legit, because if your lights, you're right, your light's supposed to turn on in the morning, it doesn't turn on, you're going to be pissed. But this light is stupid easy to repair, and I could probably walk you through it. So, this is a apples to apples direct comparison of VipraSpectra. Both will give you decent spread. You do not have to mount this thing 24 VipraSpectra 24 inches above a tank. You can pull the lenses and you can drop it down and you get it in that 8-inch range, and you could flood any tank with good spectrum and decent par. More par than an XR15. Okay. This one. Anybody know what this light is? Let me catch up. Let me read while y'all are thinking. More par doesn't mean more better. I agree, but more par. So if not enough par, sucks. So more par doesn't mean more better, but not enough par sucks. So you need you need enough par to meet your goals, and I would argue you need more par than you need to meet your goals. That way, if your goals change, you have a light that'll work. Par is not like horsepower. Ryan has specifically called it that. I could, whatever. I can see both sides. Large blue spectrum. Aren't we all? Hold on. Still scrolling. I really like, yeah, so I did post some stuff on Instagram, and I didn't say which spectrum was which light, but I did share the names and the spectrums, so you could put these pieces together now that I posted this video. Aqua Splendor, Kessel have low par because they're low wattage lights. The lights have like way low wattage. They are not powerful. It's not a powerful light. Same goes for XR15. It's not a powerful light. It's a relatively low wattage light. You would have to, and they did it, right? They did it with that multi-puck design lights. The more pucks you have, the more wattage you can push through, and of course the more light you have. But a 360 is just a single puck with not a lot of wattage. So low par because they're not hot lights. They're not powerful. What's the best light under $200 that you'd buy new? Well, before it was an Ocean Revive, because that thing was $175. Moki's asking, what's the best light under $200 that you'd buy new? That used to be an Ocean Revive. So what I would do is I'd buy an Ocean Revive, and then I'd buy an AliExpress 470 or maybe two, but that's going to push me over $200. So if I'm going to do it now, it's going to be a VipraSpectra with one AliExpress. That keeps me one AliExpress 470 bar. That keeps me under $200 and gives me great spectrum and plenty of par to meet the needs, most people's needs, especially budget reefers. Algae Warrior, totally. AIs, those primes are way better than the Red Sea. I don't understand that Red Sea at all. I don't get it. Hold on. Let me getting down here. There's going to be comments that I'm totally going to miss. Yeah, the Prime HD, Carlos talks about the Prime HD is legit for the price. I agree. So AI lights are all good, but that's like, so that's not budget to me, right? A budget light is like a VipraSpectra. That's a budget light. So if somebody just starting out, college student, high schooler, don't have a lot of money, anybody, get a budget light. And that's not an AI product. When you are ready to upgrade, absolutely look at AIs. If you're going to buy new, look at Ecotech for the smaller lights. Look at those used. I mean, there's a great market out there for some of these lights. But I'm classifying it as budget and then mid-range. So in AI, no matter the form, I see that as a mid-range light. Radeon Gen 3 Pro, Juan, I have one, and it served me really well. I replaced it with a Gen 4. There is a difference. I wanted Mobius, but a Gen 3 Pro, if you can find that used, totally. That'll grow corals. There's nothing wrong with that light. Mars Aqua. More is always better. I think, yeah, it's helpful. Kessel, I don't know. Kessel has a cool spectrum. Your guess, Algae Warrior, your guess that this thing here is a Kessel? No, not a Reef Bright. Yeah, Jeremy, you got it. And Algae Warrior, you got it. So this is a 20K hot. This is a 400 watt. metal halide. And everybody swears by these things, but look at that spectrum, right? It's totally crap. Talk about space needles. These are the tightest peaks of any light I've ever tested, even the Red Sea. And it's just crap. Now, I have another one. I have a 200, 250 watt downstairs that I need to test. Got it from a local reefer. I'm going to check that out. I'm going to see if it's any different. But that's crap. But how many people are out there growing with 20K metal halides? Like a whole bunch. Old schoolers are still doing this. So when we talk about nice peaks, that ain't it. So if anybody tells you metal halide, whatever. You understand the comparison, right? I mean, everybody has their view. I would choose any of these lights. This is my budget pick, right? This is the VipraSpectra, Spiral Gyro, Spiral Galaxy, Dodge Viper. De-lensed to drop it low, to get rid of the disco, to get rid of the headlight beams with a diffuser. And it looks pretty good. That's a Gen 5 XR15. Not diffused, running AB+. Pro, running AB+. Bill Ray, because corals aren't all that picky. I mean, this is plenty of light to grow a coral. They will grow coral, just like that'll grow coral, just like that Red Sea will grow coral. They'll all grow coral. But, what do you want? Do you want a fatter blue? Do you want the newer understanding of what corals grow? Or do you want the old school understanding of what does grow corals? So it comes down to preference. It comes down to experience. It comes down to, what you're interested in doing. Is the blue drowning out everything else? I know they're normalized spectrum. Are you talking which blue is drowning out everybody else? Also, a lot of people like the metal halides because you could run them wider, right? Malev, he likes a white tank, and a whole lot of people out there like white tank. So I think it comes down to how much heat do you want to add to the house? If you're going to talk about this metal halide thing, how much heat do you want to add to the house? What's your electric bill going to be? Do you want to be changing? Yeah, Bill Ray, this is a 400 watt. Note the par rating. That could also be a reflector thing, so maybe the reflector wasn't good enough. But whatever. I don't want to have to deal with any of that. I want to keep it super easy, which is why I always lean LED. Same goes for T5. I mean, T5s they'll grow fine, right? There's a whole lot of people, even local reefers, that love T5s. But, everybody has their preference. Can you show how to do the modification? Lens off, diffuser. All I did, there's screws, and you just take the screws off the case and you flip the case over, and then there's screws holding down the plate, the heat sink for all the LEDs. You take that off, the whole LED, that whole tray comes out, and you just pop those little lenses. They just pull right off. You don't have to do anything. You just pull it off. It's super easy to do. There was like 8 screws, maybe 10 screws just to do the whole thing. Yeah, let's see. This just shows that if you have a basic understanding of lighting, you can be successful with almost any light you pick. Yeah, shallow reefing, I would suggest that most anybody, as long as your tank parameters are cool, can be successful with any light. Any light that has in the past proven to grow corals will grow corals for you. I mean, it really is that simple. But I'm always moving towards what's next and what's new. So, right, and we've talked about it before. I'm an LED guy. That's just the way it's going to be. Kessel lights with 3 T5s. What would you recommend for bulbs? I would get rid of T5s, Juan. I just wouldn't do it at all. You see the direction that Ryan's going? Ryan's going Kessel A360Xs with Reef Brights. So you can do that because you will mount your Kessels lower because they're not a lot of par, right? It's a relatively low par light. It's a low wattage light. So Kessels come down low. Reef Brights are installed low because they're not lensed. They're 3-watt LEDs. There's nothing to them. There's nothing fancy. There's no magic in there. It has that nice shiny reflector and 3-watt LEDs. Watch my last video if you want to see what's inside of that thing. I would put 2 Reef Brights next to your Kessel all day long. I mean, that's going to be a good thing. If you got a light you want to mount up higher, then I would totally go with the AliExpress lights because they're like a third cheaper than Reef Brights, and the spectrum's good. But yeah, I think Reef Bright is a great option, a low-tech option to mount with Kessels, to supplement a Kessel. That's it. That's all I got. Yeah, you know. I did, yeah. Actually, that's a really good recommendation there. Do check out Aqua Splendor's T5 comparison. He shows with fixed camera settings the color differences between a bunch of T5s. If you ask me, I think T5s are going to be governmentally regulated out at some point. It's just not going to be available, right? I mean, how many people are really using metal halide? I mean, they're still available. That's cool. But eventually, fluorescence, because of the mercury in the tubes, they're just going to go away because you can do it with other things. You can do it for less electricity. I would absolutely throw away T5s in lieu of Reef Brights if I were going to mount them at the same height. It's a one-for-one comparison. There's nothing fancy going on there. What's up, Troy? Thanks for all the data. Yes, sir. So I think that's all I have. And Juan, I can help you with a fixture if you want. If you want to create something out of extruded aluminum that'll hold up some Reef Brights and look really nice. Europe is already starting to put sanctions on T5s. It's going to happen. Because the United States is stupid. Because, you know, don't mess with my T5 rights. Damn it. It'll take us a while. But, you know. What metal halide pendant do you use? Oh, I have no idea. I don't know. I'm not a metal halide guy. I was just, here, test this. I'm like, cool. Here, test this. Cool. So I'll look at whatever that gigantic housing is. Actually, this one's a little smaller, I think, on the 250 watt, whatever. Yeah, I just don't want to work for it. I want to buy something and I want it to work. And I don't want to have to fiddle. I don't want to have to worry about what fixture I'm going to put this bulb in. I don't want to replace the bulb in a year or 2 years, 6 months. I don't want to do any of that. I want to plug it in and turn it on. Now, if it breaks, Ryan's right. Fudge. If it doesn't break, like my Mars Aqua, that's like 6-7 years running now, cool. I'm cool with that. Considering building souped up Reef Bright. Yeah, Jeremy, so this is a question about Reef Brights and the reflectors. Those reflectors for that design of lights, right? That it's a very simple design. There's nothing going on in there. That reflector is crucial because it totally floods those 3-watt LEDs like a T5. So it's a nice blanket of light from a low mount install. Yes, the reflector is important. And if you use better LEDs, like 6-watt Crees or Lexions, you're going to have a heat thing because you're going to be pumping a whole lot more juice in there, but whatever. That's easy enough to fix. And you'll absolutely get better par numbers out of that thing. So right, we talked about it. Spectrum matters. Spectrum matters more than par. It always has. It's just now the world's catching up to that. But par matters because you get the perfect spectrum, but your par is too low to meet your goals. So get the right spectrum. So get a light with the right spectrum. A lot of this data I provided today kind of points you in the direction that maybe you want to go if you're a budget reefer. That's cool. So now you know what light to get for the right spectrum. And then you need to get one of those lights that has more par than the other. Because if the spectrum's 141, get the one with a higher par. Then you'll be good to go. Yeah, you need a reflector. What's up, Robert? You need a reflector. Acan Addict mentions it. You need a reflector if you're not going to have lenses. I'm a high mount guy, so the lights I have lenses. Right. OR2. AliExpress. Reef Bright's over there because I took it apart last week or a couple 3 weeks ago. We do have 40 people in here. And 18 likes. Y'all are all right. I appreciate that. All right, I'm going to jump. It is 8:45. I didn't even... Wait. That's just sad. I did more yammering than I did anything else. Let me check through my notes real quick while I enjoy my Coral Frenzy Protected fancy brew. We talked... Oh, here's another one. CE versus UL. A really interesting thing would be a line-by-line comparison of light manufacturers and exactly what portions of their lights are either CE or UL listed. I think you would be disappointed to find out what portions of what lights are truly CE and UL listed. Some of them I know, no reason to talk about it. Just take a look. Oh, I'm not jumping off yet. Taylor King, sorry. I do have an IllumiMagic Blaze X Mini downstairs. That's I wouldn't call that budget. I would call that mid, right? So that's competing with an AI Prime. We talked about the heatsink thing. We talked about spectrum shift a little bit, how I'd like to see how that compares with a 360W. We talked about UV. We talked about space needly. I think it's cool that BRS took apart some of these lights. Take apart more lights. I think that would be valuable information. We talked, maybe I mentioned PWN, but Ryan was right that the VipraSpectra is a PWM light. You can see the flash with the camera. You can see the light blinking. When the frame rate of the camera gets out of sync with the flashing of a PWM light, you perceive that as flashing in your camera. I talked about how the wattage of the VipraSpectra is its twin 56-watt drivers, and you're not using full 56 watts out of each. Actually, that light, and I showed it, configured the way Bulk Reef Supply says, is a 75-watt light, and that's why the heat sinks don't get hot, because you're not firing that thing up at all. Talked about voltage versus current, how we manage a dimmed, how we manage an analog 0 to 10 dimmable light, and I think that's it. Let me look. Oh, here comes the likes. Y'all are awesome. Taylor, hit me up. I can talk about the IllumiMagic if you would like. It's the light over the work tank, which is called my kitchen tank now, I suppose. Chimp the Reefer, what's going on? What pick on Instagram was Radeon? Here, I'll show you real quick. You jumped in late. You still here? This one. That's XR15 Gen 5 Pro. Hit the likes. Y'all are cool. Thank you so much. Yeah, was it number 10? It is number 10. Well, it's number 10 here. I'd go AI Prime. It's silly how big of a reef source they are in the hobby. Yeah. Agreed. I agree. You know, so real quick, back to T5s. What did ATI just release? There's your hint. If you want to see the demise of T5s, eventually, it's going to happen. Why do you think ATI released an LED? Maybe I'm crazy, which I am, but whatever. Broaden the spectrum of a G5 Radeon Blue or Pro. Evan. Why do you feel a need to broaden the spectrum of a G5? What's up, Adam? Saving it. Didn't miss anything. We did not talk about currents, Robert. I don't know that you need, so Evan, I don't know that you really need to broaden the spectrum of a G5. I mean, they hit all the right numbers. You just got to buy the right lights for your par requirements, because the spectrum's good. So now you got to focus on par. All right, I think that's it. I hope some of this information was valuable. Happy to Aqua Splendor. It's the size. It's the form factor. If you turn a fan off of a Kessel, right, that thing's going to get super hot because it's all that dense matrix business jammed in there pretty well. It's a really, 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 really small heatsink for that much power. That's the difference. Like that Red Sea light, that thing got hot. Power supply got hot. The head got hot. And it's still it's a 90, 100 watt light. Algae wire, we call that foreboding. Because those will go away one day. All right, I'm jumping off. I'm going to keep repeating myself over and over and over and over. Everybody's going to be like, oh my God, he's still talking. All right, y'all. Thank you very much for hanging out. I hope everybody's doing well. I apologize for being away so long. It was a really interesting trip. I thought about streaming while I was gone, but then it really wouldn't be there. I would not have a whole lot of substance. It would have been like on a boat or something like that. So, like I said, as always, feel free to hit me up. If you want to discuss the data some more, if you want to discuss my views, perception, whatever, happy to discuss those. I mean, I've talked about it before. I appreciate all lights. I just know what I'm going to use and know what I'm not going to use, and all of these lights are going to grow corals, no matter how space needly, they may be. Like this business right there. Nope. But you can cook your breakfast on it. All right. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope your families are safe, not sick. It's still crazy. School's starting up next week. Work's starting up next week. Got to get back into it. All right, y'all. Have a good night. Happy reefing and be kind, everyone. Thanks.